Hi, I'm Ross from Coombe Smith 150 Group Property Accountants, and we're just going to have a quick look tonight at a rental property. It's just the first rental property that I could find where it had the price negotiable from, and we all know that that doesn't mean a lot necessarily at the moment. It gives us an idea of the price, and it's also got the rent on there. So I'm just going to start, share my screen, and we'll start looking at this property. This is just obviously some general information, and if you were getting serious and going to buy this property, then you'd need to do a lot more due diligence. But what we're looking at is 147 Bow Hill Road in North New Brighton. Unfortunately, I'm not a local Christchurch person, so I need to have a look and just see where that is. So there's Christchurch, there's 147 Bow Hill Road. So that just gives you an idea of where this property is. So you've got a bit of an idea about it. We're looking at, yeah, it looks a little bit run down, so it looks like it needs a little bit of work. Obviously, if we look through all the different pictures, it just looks like it needs a general tidy up. And you'd obviously be worried about earthquake work being down in Christchurch. You would be very interested in that front door. What on earth is going on with there? Just lots of things that you'd be sort of looking at, whether it needs painting long term, the overall condition. You'd be interested, does it have insulation? Does it meet healthy homes rules? Just general things. It needs a tidy up and needs lots of work on it. So obviously you'd be very careful about those sort of things. Big tree, reasonable section. You'd also be looking at, is there opportunity? Can you subdivide it? Can you put a minor dwelling on the back? Is there something else you can do? And I'm not great with the area, but you would be looking at opportunities like that and also watching the costs and things a little bit. So what we'll do is get rid of that picture. So negotiable from 299,000, and the rent is 380 a week. So let's start looking through that property. And what I'll do is just move this to the side so I can use it. So we've got our property 147 Bow Hill Road. And not in any way saying that you should buy this property, just running through the numbers to see what they're looking for. So the property is negotiable from 299,000. Market's very hot at the moment. If there was people interested, you'll probably find you're paying a bit more, but let's just stick with the 299. Then we're looking at, there's going to be some cost to buy the property. You've got legal fees. You might set up a company. You might want a building inspection. You might need a valuation done. So you're generally looking about 2,500 extra costs, and maybe you'll get some sort of bank contribution. With those costs, I would also be saying, look, you probably need to do that property up a little bit. So you'd be looking at, how much is it going to cost you to insulate healthy homes, do it up a little bit so you can get a reasonable tenant. And I imagine that you could easily spend 25,000 on this property, if not a lot more. So you'd need to factor in and do your due diligence on what's this really going to cost you. But let's say it's 25,000 of extra costs to start with. So I always work on 100% borrowing, whether you've got some cash or not. Pretty much irrelevant. When you're comparing properties and looking what's good to you, I'd always start with 100% debt. And then if you do have cash in, you can look at those numbers afterwards. But to start with, be realistic, look at 100% debt and see what it looks like. Number of weeks, the property is pretty run down, not in a great standard. No way I'd be relying on 52 weeks, so I'd be looking more at 50. The rental appraisal from the agent is 380 a week. One of the first things I would do as due diligence is check, or the earthquake would be my first one. I'm not very familiar with Christchurch, so be checking any earthquake, any foundation, soil issues, that sort of thing. I'd also be checking, can I actually insure the property? And chatting to a property manager, someone completely independent, away from the real estate company. What is fair market rent? How easy is it going to be to rent? And just checking that. So 50 weeks, 380 is 19,000. 19,000 divided by 299 is a 5.85% gross yield. In some places, you'd actually say that's pretty good, but this is a lower level property. So generally, the cash flow is not going to be that fantastic at that level of rent and that yield. Insurance, generally Christchurch is a little bit higher, so I'm going to guess 1700. Yeah, obviously that is a key thing, making sure you can get insurance and getting an idea of what it is. So yeah, just watch out for those sort of things. And it does say that it's insured with AMI and it's TC2. Interest at the moment, working on 2.49% seems to be about the best rate, and we'll look at that in a minute. Got some property management in there. I've got it running at 8% plus a little bit of fee to find a tenant plus GST. Rates, they're saying 1729. I would imagine that's going to go up. So I would go at least 1800. And repairs and maintenance. That house looked pretty shabby. It looked like it needed a lot of work. Even though you're spending 25 grand, there's some big section, tree. Yeah, a lot of work needs doing it. You'd need to watch the roof, the foundations, lots of other things. I would imagine you'd spend at least 3,000 a year on maintenance. And then I allow for a little few things. And yeah, with maintenance, I'm really looking over the next 10 years. Do you think you'll spend 30,000 on it over the next 10 years? So 3,000 a year over 10 years. Then I'm looking at maybe some sort of education, some seminars, some property education. Maybe you join your local association. I'm on the committee for Waikato Property Investors, so I obviously think that is fantastic and you should join up. But yeah, just a great way of getting some good property information without the sales pitch. And maybe some travel. Maybe you live out of town and it's actually going to cost you 500 or something to travel down. What we're getting at the end of this, if this property wasn't subdividable, you couldn't do a duplex, there wasn't, you couldn't do a minor dwelling or something else. What I'd be asking is, why on earth are you buying this? 19,000 income, 19,000 out, and that's at 2.49%. So to me, pretty average. I then look at what will happen if rents slowly go up. Been real miserable and real conservative. Interest rates slowly go up over the next 10 years, up to sort of 4%. This property is going to be quite a lot negative. And that's all on interest only. If you went principal and interest, you're looking at losing about 7,600 a year. Um, if you went principal and interest and after tax, it's the same figure because you're not making any money. So there's actually no tax in there. You might get a little bit of chattel's depreciation once you do up the property. You might put in some new carpet or a heat pump or something like that. So you'd have no taxable profit, no tax to pay. With ring fencing from the 1st of April 19, that loss could offset any other properties if you've got them and in the right structure, but it can't offset your personal income. So to me, very average. No way in the world I'd buy this unless there's some big opportunity with a subdivision or something like that. But why I'm using this example today is, one, it's the very first rental I could find with a price with a rent. But what happens if we change this? What happens if interest rates go down to 2%? Suddenly it's making $1,200. What happens if, so obviously we all would have seen today Heartland interest rates down. What happens if interest rates go down to 1.5%? So relatively recently, ANZ was saying, expecting interest rates to maybe go down to 1.75. So yeah, 1.5. It's actually starting to make a profit of 2,887. Interest rates down to 1%, just to be nosy, you'd be up to 5,000 from this property. Would I buy this property still? No. Yeah, like I say, unless there's some other option, to me, it's just not worth it. And running at 2.49, you should be able to make a profit. And a property like this, you'd be looking for some sort of cash flow profit from it, and it's just not there. I would rather buy something else that was either newer, better tenants, no repairs and maintenance, no installation hassles, no healthy homes hassles, just simple, easy, or something with a subdivision opportunity, a minor dwelling opportunity, turn the garage into a separate legal unit, turn a 2-bedroom into a 3-bedroom, something else that you can add value with. And yeah, even if interest rates go down to 2%, we're making a small profit. But in a long term, for a property investor, you should be looking at 10 or more years. And over that period, if interest rates just creep back up, it's going to be negative. If the bank forces you onto P&I, is still very negative, even at 2%. It's going to be 6,600 you'd have to put in a year. So this property, if it was going to be your only one, in 10 years, you'll probably do okay. But if you want to buy more and more properties and get more and more ahead, I just see this as a handbrake, something that'll slow you down, stop you buying no properties. And to me, even at 2% interest rates, I just wouldn't buy it. It just doesn't make sense to me. So hopefully that's given you some good information. If you're not already, make sure you like our Facebook page. Great videos, great information on there. And yeah, we've got quite a few cool webinars coming up. We just had a zero webinar tonight that we're going to repeat in about a month's time. Webinars coming up shortly about trusts and the new changes. A webinar coming up on why you should use a property accountant, and a whole lot of case studies or examples of some little tips and tricks that can save you thousands in tax, give you some ideas of some things not to use, some structures not to use, and just, yeah, some smart little tax planning and things like that. So watch out for those, and thank you very much. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed my little video and little chat. Thanks a lot.